The question of the century, laptop versus desktop. Find out in today's episode of Beyond the Signs, where we dive in and say our opinions about desktop and laptops. Kiera,
Yeah.
what's your opinion?
Oh my God. Jumping in. Well, I have always edited on a laptop. So it's conflicting. My opinion is conflicting. I love desktops for the size of the screen and just how enlarged everything is and how detailed you can get, especially when working in like Photoshop or Lightroom or any really like detail oriented programs. Any Adobe program is detail oriented, but also laptops are amazing for portability, and I am, on the go a lot. And yeah, I don't know. What do you think about this topic?
So personally, I think it also stems from the era I started using like technology, which was mainly that it was all desktop related, right? It wasn't until I got to college that I had my first laptop, which was literally like 10 years ago. So
Yep.
for me, like using a desktop was like more or less like my sort of go-to when it comes to just working on things, and it makes me more comfortable to work on it because I need a mouse and a keyboard. For me, using a mouse pad and a keyboard that literally were like right in front of each other like that, it just feels awkward to use, right? Not only that, is that I feel like some laptops you can hear, like for example, like with a desktop, right? And this comes from I guess more of an aesthetic and sort of like personal opinion, is that I don't like hearing the fan being like worked on while like I'm literally like typing, because like all the processing power and all the fans and all the CPU and the motherboard and the RAMs are literally underneath your keyboard essentially. So all you hear is like, for example, when I'm rendering a video or doing a picture or like editing a photo on Lightroom, because of the amount of like processing power it takes, you can literally hear it like just the fans working because it's trying to cool down the actual heat and the heat that's being emitted by the processor from using the heavy program.
Especially when it's actually on your lap and you're using it on your lap as a laptop, your thighs are just cooking.
Oh yeah, no, they're cooking. I mean, like there have been times where I've actually like had like not a severe burn, but I've had burn marks happen to me before.
Yep.
Because of like one, like I didn't know that happens when you have when you're using a laptop, right?
I usually put like a blanket or a pillow over my lap but yeah, that's all I've ever had. Yeah. So that's all I know.
But you see, like that's even like bad for the actual capability for the laptop.
Bad for the laptop, yeah.
Right? So like the ideal condition,
you're that fan isn't able to air out the actual air.
Absolutely. And it's just like collecting heat, collecting dust, so it's like basically you're
killing your computer slowly.
Yeah, like literally slowly basically. No. But I mean, the convenient factor of it, like of having a laptop with you like on the go, is great too, because you're able to do work on the go.
Yep.
So like for me, like the way I work is that I work in a hybrid situation with like my laptop with my desktop, right? Even though like I'll get the greatest and best laptop, I'll still have the greatest and best desktop. Like I personally built it out on my own.
You're in the process of doing it right now, right?
Oh yeah. And
with a laptop. No, desktop.
No, desktop. I can't build a laptop. If I did, it would be very bulky. There's really no point of like at that point building a laptop. But yeah, like I'm able to like, and nowadays like you can get liquid cooling, like which is like insane, where you don't even hear the fans or the processor like making its noise, right? It's just very silent. And like nowadays they have like the nice RGB lights that you can use to kind of customize it. So it's really great what you can do with a desktop. And I feel like for me, it comes down to the capability that I'm able to use, like at what like power I'm able to overclock my actual system, the aesthetic of it. Like I like it in a room. Like I felt like a room kind of looked plain if it was just a laptop, right? And as well as the fact that I can't it's not easily not easily people aren't capable of stealing it quickly, because I have my own opinion about like my first laptop was a Mac and it got robbed from me. So I also have that as a personal
Oh no, don't hold that against Mac.
well, not Mac per se, but that's like the main reason why I don't like laptops. It's like someone can easily steal it, because you know me, I have this weird thing, right? Which it's funny because I was talking about it in a previous episode where like I don't let anyone borrow my things, but at the same time I don't have this attachment to my things.
Yeah.
So like for example, like if I leave my laptop out in the open, let's say in the cafeteria, which what did happen when it got robbed, I left it for like 5 minutes and came back and couldn't find it, right? I don't have I guess I don't have any like worry about leaving it somewhere, right? Although I did get robbed and I was like, oh shoot, like where the hell did it go? But at the same time, it was like, it wasn't like something like, oh, I can deal with it. I have a computer, so it's not like a big deal, you know?
Right.
But on the other hand, I do still use my laptop because I do travel a lot and like I do need to edit on the go.
I was going to say, if anybody needs a laptop, it's going to be you.
Yeah.
How many times have we talked about how much you travel and how like go you are?
Yeah, so that's also the other thing, but like it's funny because like although like I do have a strong laptop, what I'll do is I'll actually connect it to my desktop like by using a program called AnyDesk, which is like literally I can access it from anywhere and my computer can be off.
Yeah.
And I can still turn it on from anywhere.
That's crazy.
So that's where I'll be able to edit and stuff like that. So it's like literally I'm using a powerful laptop so I can like operate a powerful desktop that is away from me. But that's like kind of like my opinion when it comes to like desktop versus a laptop.
You even did when you had your apartment that you were living in that was by Philly. And I came over for us to like revamp my website at the time, the Ocean Salts website. And you had like you had 3 screens.
Actually, now I have 4 screens
you have
now.
4 screens?
4 screens now.
With the updated computer that you're...
Yeah.
That's insane. Because I remember even seeing 3 screens and being like, oh my God. And when you drag your mouse, it automatically goes to the other screen. And when you drag a window, it automatically goes to the other screen. It's very trippy and very crazy, but I'm sure it's like it makes for like super efficient workspace.
Right, it does. I mean, like a lot of people will argue, well, you can just hook up like a docking station for your laptop to like use different monitors. I'm like, yes, that does work, but the whole purpose of the desktop is the power and the customability that you can have. Because,
Yes.
for example, I've been rocking my tower for the past like 7 years now, right? Needless to say, within those 7 years I had to switch parts out like constantly, right? So there was a problem where my RAMs overheated, so I had to remove it from the motherboard, right? Install new RAMs. Not only that, my liquid coolant one time like broke down, so I had to like fix out the like literally gut out the motherboard, the processor, and the liquid cooler and like replace them all. So like what I have now isn't how I built it from the get-go versus like a laptop. Yeah, you could customize it, but like it's like you have to buy its specific parts. While like a desktop tower that's already been customized, you can put the newest and latest parts that would be compatible with your system, which is like a lot of other companies, like for example Asus, MSI, Egava or something like that. I think they're different brands that you can actually use to customize it, and like it really comes down to what's affordable at the time.
But then you're having to do more maintenance, right? Throughout the years than you would on a laptop.
Yes and no. And the reason why is because if you build it right, there's less maintenance. The thing that I would say, like, let's say, for example, you decide to go build out a desktop from now, right? like, hey, like Omar, like I don't really like my laptop. It's slowing down, which is gonna end up happening soon. I want to build it up a tower. I would say invest a lot in building it right from the get go, because it'll end up lasting longer. Not only that, like the things that you'll end up switching out would be 3 years apart from when you first built it. So you can actually put in like it'll be like maybe the RAMs or the graphics cards you want to switch out, or even add in like new like outputs. Because like I remember at the time when I built the computer, we didn't have Thunder ports.
Got it.
And just last year I installed a piece that I can put Thunder ports in, and that's the actual like crazy part about building
That's
these things.
really crazy.
So like for example, your laptop, right? You have 4 inputs for Thunder ports,
Yes.
right? But like 2 years ago they didn't have that.
They didn't exist. So you added it on to a piece of equipment that when that was made, or when you bought it, or however long you've been using it, it wasn't made to do that at all. It wasn't made to have that capability.
Right.
But you were able to customize it later on to have that capability.
And that's the crazy part about like how these computers like custom built are, because like you can add things that like they already thought about things that are like that's going to be happening in the future, and those who are coming out with the new type of technology, right, they build it to be compatible with the old, and once the old becomes irrelevant or people aren't using it often, they'll like switch it up, so that way you're able to last it longer. Like for example, like my tower right now that's been running for 7 years, I'm still gonna keep it. It still does what I need it to do. It's just at the time being, like, because of now like we're going into like 4K and 8K like video capability, and
it's
like
just a little slow nowadays.
it's a little slow.
Yeah.
Like I kid you not, 7 years ago that thing was fast.
Yeah.
For what it did.
I'm sure. So I'm sure the one that you're building now is like lightning speed.
Well, we got to test it.
Yeah.
I got to test it because I did definitely I doubled up on my RAMs for sure. I have like two it's funny, I put in 2 terabytes, like two, so it's 4 terabytes of SSD. So one for like running speed, one for like while I'm working on something, so I don't need my like external hard drive anymore. I can put it there so I can like work off of it quickly, right? Not only that, is that in the actual system where I'm like storing, instead of having a server that I put all my thing in, I'm able to put in, I think, 30 terabytes.
I was going to say
storage.
The 4 that you initially mentioned couldn't have been it. Because I was about to say that we were just having this issue yesterday with my external hard drive. I have 2 terabytes in mine, the SanDisk that you recommended to me. And with all the videos that we film, I mean, it's only a couple months worth and it's already done. Meanwhile, like with photos, what I'm used to of photos, 2 terabytes in an external hard drive that's only storing photos would last me 2 years.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And that's where like it comes in handy, because like instead of like, for example, our laptops could store like, for example, the most expensive laptop right now can store only 2 or 4 terabytes worth of space on it. But necessarily the way that would work is that you don't really want to store storage on it. You want to run your programs.
Right. You want to make sure your programs are running and they're not freezing and quitting on you.
And it's funny because like when I remember putting in, like, I wanted for my computer, it has 2 terabytes of SSD of my laptop, right? And my cousin was telling me, oh, like that's too much. You don't need that much. You only need 500 gigs. I'm like, trust me, I need it. Comes to show the reason why my computer failed was because I didn't have enough storage for my other programs, because they were trying to run. Because the thing is, like, for example, like let's say Adobe Premiere Pro, right? The way it works is it does autosaves, right?
Yes.
Which is great, because let's say you lose that file, you're able to run it up from an autosave.
Autosaves has already saved me with these episodes at least twice. For sure.
And
but also, what I'm like, who would be the person to say that you don't need that because that's what you do. Of course you need
my
that
cousin
much
who
space.
builds my desktops for me, like I understand how it works, but let's just say I I don't trust myself when it comes to building things, because like the other thing that comes to it too is that it's very easy, but it's also very easy for you to mess up and short circuit everything.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust myself doing that either.
Exactly. So you need like a special kind of like this wrap that like clings onto you and clings onto like a grounded metal, so that way you're not like not short circuiting anything. But also the thing is too is like I really don't have the time to actually put it together, so I'd rather have my cousin do it for me,
right.
and he does it for me for free. Thank God he doesn't watch this podcast. Otherwise, he'd have a fit.
I mean, honestly, though, I feel like this is a perfect conversation to reiterate that, like, every situation and every person is different, and every person's needs are different in terms of what gets them the work done the fastest, like what allows them to work at the highest efficiency, right? So for me, the way that I work at the highest efficiency for a long time, the way that I worked was all throughout high school and also up until I moved out of my parents' house, was simply just being able to work elsewhere and not just at home, because home was not always just my space. It was a space that provided a lot of distraction, a lot of just like, oh, procrastination, oh, I'll get to that later because I'm comfortable, I'm in my room. And taking it outside, taking it to a cafe, taking it to a food place and to get some lunch and spend a couple hours editing was like my time. And that was where I valued having a laptop way over having a desktop. And the fact that I couldn't afford both resulted in me siding with a laptop for many years. I would, if my personal preference, like my ideal office, my dream office would allow me to have all of those things, would allow me to have both, so that I could work off of. I would do the same exact deal as you. So you could connect your laptop to your desktop. All these different things, I would do it. But we're balling on somewhat of a budget here, and I'm grateful that I am allowed to, or that, you know, I'm financially able to get myself a Mac to work off of, and have a reliable laptop that does have a lot of memory. That, like you said, I've learned the importance of working off of your hard drive, not your laptop, for sure.
Yeah, because a lot of these programs take like, yes, they like, for example, let's say Adobe, I don't know, like someone's going to correct me in the comments, but let's say Premiere Pro takes 30 gigs of space, right? What you fail to understand is that, yes, it takes that much to store it, but to run it, you need to be able to have at least like triple the amount of space that's empty on the card itself, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say you've already maxed out your 500 gigs, right? For it to start, it's going to take a longer time to start because it's trying to start up an actual program on a card that's already filled. So it's like, for example, let's say I'm trying to figure out. Oh, it's like this. You stuffed your car, right? And you're trying to find the one thing, but it's taking you time because you got to look for that one thing. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like that, mm-hmm. right? And to keep it consistently going, it's like you're going to have to keep trying to find it. So I think that's not the best analogy, but it's like somewhat closer to it.
I understood that analogy.
Yeah. So it's like more or less like you got to keep making sure that like you have space that the program is running comfortably, right? Mm-hmm. It's about comfortability rather than like, so for example, like my rule of thumb is that if I have like, for example, a 2 terabyte of space, right, on my SSD, I'll make sure that I only use 1 terabyte, and that's 1 terabyte max, right? So I don't even try to put like, and it's funny because like everyone like looks at my computer and like, oh, you can use it for gaming and stuff. I'm like, yeah, but I don't touch it for gaming because gaming itself, the games have to run on the SSD itself so it can run smoothly, right? And they take up their own amount of space. Like God knows what. Like for example, like I think it was Valorant that like takes the most, which is 70 gigs. So if like I have like for example one program of Premiere that's 30 gigs. Imagine all 20 different programs of Adobe, because I have them all installed, right? Because you never know when you need to use it, right? So I have it all installed, and like it's just like running everything would be like chaotic if I did have like what's it called? If I didn't have the space, just like
no, same. I mean, since we've started doing this podcast, since I've started editing more of the videos, I've downloaded 3 new Adobe programs that I've had to download to edit these videos, right? So we have Premiere Pro, we have Audition, and we have Media Encoder. And all those 3 things are necessary for making this podcast possible. And so, yeah, I'm really grateful that I have a laptop situation where, like, yeah, I can work off of it to run these different programs, but at the same time have my external hard drive so that it's not just, like, all on the laptop.
Absolutely.
The laptop's not doing all of the work.
Absolutely. And honestly, like, because we're coming closer to the end, I do want to give like a little bit of credit to laptops, because I feel like this whole time I was just talking about desktop and I went off because like I can go off about desktop.
No, I'm happy. This was really informative. I learned a lot. I'm sure they learned a lot.
Yeah, because a lot of people like take it as like, oh, like the comfortability of like having a laptop and I can go anywhere with it. I'm like, yeah, but like realistically speaking is like how much work can you actually get done on a laptop if it's hindering like the actual performance of it? There's so many times where I went to a coffee shop and I was trying to edit or do work and stuff like that, and I realized I'm like, damn, like I really need my computer. Like I think mainly for me.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. It's so subjective
It's
to
so
who
subjective,
you are and
right?
what you need the technology for.
Exactly. And I know how to use it properly on that. So like, for example, it's not like I haven't used my like laptop to its most, like I've done it. I've abused it.
Yeah.
To the point where like
it
burnt
to the very end.
It literally like caught fire. Like I'm not even joking. Like it caught, like when I say it burnt out, I don't mean, oh, like no, I mean like it actually caught on fire. And a lot of people think like what you do. I'm like, I just ran the program. Like it's true though.
No, it's crazy.
But like that's where like for me I'm like, all right,
that cracks me up. That would happen to you.
I mean like it happened. But like that's where like I'm saying like for example like laptops for me, I think honestly from like how I use it, I'll probably get like a modest laptop just to do light work,
the basic stuff, yeah,
which is no pun to Lightroom. Which is actually like a very heavy program. I think they should change it to Heavy Room. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Adobe, change it to Heavy Room. That program needs to be light. Yeah.
I don't disagree for sure.
But with that being said, my consensus, and I feel like lately the episodes that have been coming out are like basically my own opinion and consensus. I stick with desktop. Find a solution to use a desktop, and if you don't, use your laptop to connect to your desktop
exactly
remotely.
Yeah, and that's what
possible.
we're here to do. We're here to like state our opinions and what works for us, but also provide perspective as to what might not work for what works for us might not work for you, you know?
Absolutely.
So
just find your own solutions, I guess.
Yeah. But we're here to list out the pros and cons for you to make the decision easier.
Pros, desktop will last longer. Cons, it's heavy as shit.
Yep.
Laptops, they're light, but it only lasts a few years, or in my case, only lasts 4 months. And with that being said, thank you again. Thank you for watching. If you like this episode a lot, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification to know when we do post. And as well as our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and the Facebook. And with that, also the videos on Kiera's face, the video on my face with past episodes of what you may have not heard yet or want to know.
Exactly.
But yeah, desktop all the way. RGB lights.
Man, I'm
Like-
still laptop gang. So
With that being said, thank you and have a good one.
see you in the next episode.